Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing the Wagner versus Columbia Pictures case, starting with a brief overview of Columbia Pictures. Columbia Pictures, one of the major players in the entertainment industry, was originally founded in 1918 and rebranded in 1924. It became a Hollywood powerhouse during the 1930s. The studio transitioned from producing low-budget films to major blockbusters. In 1982, Coca-Cola acquired Columbia, and 7 years later, Sony bought it for 3.4 billion. This ownership change brought significant restructuring, which impacted the studio's business strategies and overall operations. On a financial overview, Columbia Pictures background under Sony, its parent company, in 1924, Sony's sales revenue stood at over 13 trillion Japanese yen and with an impressive 7.45 net profit margin and a gross margin of 31.24%. Sony's yearly sales growth rate increased from 9.23 in 2021 to 18.65 in 2024, showcasing a robust market presence. Columbia benefited from Sony's diversification revenue streams in, which include games, music, entertainment, technology, and financial services. The strong financials have bolstered Columbia's position in a competitive industry. Now moving on with the case itself, Wagner versus Columbia Pictures resolved around a dispute over profit-sharing rights for two films based on Charlie's Angels television series. Robert Wagner, both personally and as a trustee of his children's trust, claimed he was entitled to 50% of the net profit from these films based on prior agreements with Spelling Goldberg Productions, which had been acquired by Columbia. The key legal question was whether Pictures was bound by the original agreement and whether Wagner had a valid claim of profit sharing rights under the uh, subsidiary right clause. Wagner's argument was based on the interpretation of the rights clause. He claimed that under his agreement with Spelling Goldberg, he was entitled to 50% of the net profit from the Charlie's Angels series, including any relative films. Wagner argued that the clause extension to the film's product by Columbia Pictures after Spelling Goldberg was acquired. The argument against it was, on the other hand, Columbia Pictures argued that the rights did not cover the film. They claimed that their production of Charlie's Angels movies did not fall under the terms of the original agreement, which primarily dealt with the TV series rights. Columbia responded by filing a summary judgment asserting that the profit sharing terms Wagner referenced did not apply to the film. They argued that the interpretation of the contract was not legally valid. The court's decision ultimately sided with Columbia Pictures. It ruled that the terms of the contract were clear and that Wagner's claims of profit sharing and films were unfounded. The court adhered to the plain meaning rule of contract law, which means that the contract terms are clear, they are enforced as written. Um, like Wagner's interpretation was not allowed to alter the clear terms of the contract. The court upheld the lower court's decision, reinforcing that Columbia was not obligated to share profits from the film. This case is important because it reinforces key principles of contract law, particularly the ones needed for clarity in contracts. The court's ruling emphasized that contracts are to be enforced based on the explicit language and should be resolved by interpreting the contract against the drafter, but only in um, argumentative existence. In this case, the contract was deemed ambiguous, so no such interpretation was necessary. The decision also set an important precedent for how the rights and profit sharing agreements are held in entertainment industry, where the issue often arises. In conclusion, I agree with the court's decision. It was based on a clear interpretation of the contract terms, ensuring that the agreement between the parties was respected. Wagner's claim was not supported by the contract, and his attempt to reinterpret the terms through evidence violated the principles of contract law. This case highlights the importance of draft clear contracts to avoid such disputes and underscores the need for all the parties to fully understand their contractual obligations. Thank you for your attention.